Hi babes, how are you? My name is Moran and welcome to my series Getting Personal, where I gather different stories from Reddit. And today our theme is people just being straight up savage. And without further ado, let's just dive in. This one is from True of My Chest. Starting off strong, I called a child ugly. I picked up my 4-year-old from kindergarten, and two of the girls that usually pick on my daughter, both 5, came to the door talking to me. While I waited for my daughter to organize her place and then come out, they were just talking and saying random stuff. I kind of entertained it, but was a bit distracted. One of them showed me her doll that she brought because it was Bring Your Toy to Kindergarten Day, and while she showed it to me, the other one told me I was ugly. And without hesitation, I looked at her sweetly and said she was ugly too, only for her to start crying and me realizing what I just said. I am also a clinical psychologist and I specialize in kids and youth. I was just on autopilot, but honestly, I don't even feel really bad about obviously, saying to children that they're ugly is not great, but she called you ugly, and her mama didn't teach her that you cannot voice all of your opinions that come to your head. So she learned it the hard way in the real world, where you think you can call someone else ugly, be prepared to be called ugly in return. Not ideal situation, but that reaction was just like savage, priceless. I love it, especially with the context that these two girls pick on her daughter, so they're obviously jerks. The top comment here is, I had a similar experience with my nephew. He's gonna be 4 and learned some insults already. Several days ago, he said, Auntie D, me, ugly, repeatedly, which I replied to with, we look alike. If I'm ugly, you're ugly too. He's crying to my sister, but my sister just laughed and said, she's right, laughing myself. He stopped right away. That is some serious education. I love it. Let's move on to more serious stuff. Wife's reaction to my mom's visit has made things awkward. My 29 male wife, Sophie, 27 female, relationship with my mother has hit a sensitive patch, and I'm wondering if I should play a role in addressing it. First, let me say that my mom can be a bit much. She means well and is extremely loving, but to be plain, she can be nosy and pushy. My wife, on the other hand, is more laid back and quite independent and doesn't respond well to in-your-face personality types. Sophie and I were married in July, and my mom was very involved. The two of them worked well together with the usual stresses towards the end. The morning after my wedding night, while Sophie and I were hanging out in the honeymoon suite at the hotel, my mom texted and asked if she could come by and drop off some stuff before we headed out of town for our honeymoon. I asked Sophie and she said no, she'd rather not have visitors this morning. So I told my mom we'd arrange to connect later, but please don't come by the suite. Of course, she came by anyway. Worse yet, Sophie and I were in the middle of being intimate. We heard a little tap on the door and my mom's voice saying, knock knock. Sophie got an annoyed look on her face, climbed off of me, and went to the door and answered it. Naked. She opened the door wide. From the bed, I could see her, but not my mom, and said, can I help you with something? My mom didn't say a word, just dropped some boxes and left. I was shocked. Sophie strutted back to bed with a satisfied grin on her face, got back on top of me, and started doing her thing without a word. Message received. Since then, for obvious reasons, their relationship has been a bit awkward and challenged. I haven't said a thing to my mom, and she hasn't said anything to me. Should I? Yes, you should have a talk with your mom about boundaries, and not in passing when you know she's like, oh, I'm gonna come by your hotel today, and you're like, no, don't, and then she comes by anyway. It just shows that your mom is very used to this and she doesn't process, she like doesn't hear when you say please keep out of some things, and you know, she's not just like in your face personality type. It just seems that she doesn't really know what boundaries are and she doesn't respect them. And I think that your wife's response was like beautiful. She's like, okay, you're not taking care of this, so I'm just gonna take care of this once and for all. And I applaud her for doing that. That was awesome. It's like you were told not to come to the hotel. You around and you found out. But still, even after this happened, the OP should talk to his mom, sit her down, and say, I'm married now, and if my wife doesn't feel comfortable inviting you over or doesn't feel comfortable with you coming by at all times, we need to change the way we communicate. So if I tell you not to come by, please don't. So your mother needs to fully process, that this is not a joke, this is serious, this is not a one-off thing, and that your wife is not just some kind of raging that just wanted to offend her. No, it's part of a larger issue, and she needs to know that her mama's boy, her little baby, is a grown man now with his own family, and the boundaries of that family matter. So yeah, you definitely should regulate whatever the is happening with your mom. Absolutely savage response from the wife. I loved it, especially considering that she just went back and climbed on top of him and continued him like nothing happened. That is some top assertion of dominance. And we are moving to the next story. So this one is a piece of art, and I want y'all to relax and go fully on this journey with me, okay? Am I for letting you know I'm divorcing you by sending you a thread on the website that you use to ignore me? Hi, Stefan. Maybe you will finally listen. And if you're wondering if you can just speed home and stop me from doing this and leaving, it's too late. I'm sending you this after I've already loaded everything in the car and left. Don't worry, I spoke with our landlords and took my name off the lease. I've set up a direct deposit for the next month's rent. After that, you're on your own, buddy. I guess you're wondering why. I'm guessing you'll act like you're completely blindsided, right? Because you've done absolutely nothing wrong and you're a great husband and father-to-be, aren't you? Well, buddy, let me break it down for you in a language you understand. I, 29 female, have been married to my husband, 35 male, for 5 years, and we've been together for nearly 10. On paper, everything seemed fine, but in reality, our marriage has been anything but. I've reached my breaking point, and I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here. From the beginning, my mother-in-law has been a nightmare. She made everything about her from day one. At our wedding, she wore white, claiming it was a family tradition. It wasn't. She constantly criticizes me, from my cooking to my appearance. I'll never forget the time she called me fat at a family gathering right in front of everyone. And what did my husband do? Nothing. Not a single word to defend me. It didn't stop there. She has accidentally destroyed my belongings, including my grandmother's necklace, which she threw out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry. She's gone out of her way to make me feel small and unwelcome in my own home. But every time I tried to talk to my husband about it, he'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting or being too emotional. And then there's my husband. He's always on Reddit, constantly giving strangers relationship advice, which is laughable considering how he treats me. He spends more time rating women's boobs on Reddit than talking to me. Literally. And just so you know, the last pair he rated weren't a 4 out of 10. They were 10 out of 10. Yeah, he's got plenty of time to do that, but can't be bothered to remember anything about my life. He'll forget my birthday, our anniversary, even simple things like what I'm working on or what's important to me, but he has a perfect memory for his work schedule and things that matter to him. When we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile and always throws in a sarcastic buddy at the end of his sentences, like I'm some acquaintance he can barely tolerate. And he never cleans the house, the dishes, laundry, you name it. It's all on me. It's like he thinks being an adult is optional as long as he's got his job and his Reddit account. The final straw came a few weeks ago. I'm 5 months pregnant with our first child, a daughter. My mother-in-law started making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape and how she'll raise her to be tough because I'm too soft. When I told my husband that I didn't want his mother to have too much influence on our daughter, especially with the way she treats me, he just laughed it off, saying his mother means well and that I was overthinking it. But the moment that truly broke me was when we were talking about future childcare and my husband suggested that his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, especially considering how his mother treats me, and he snapped. He called me paranoid and said I should get over it because his mother was going to be a part of our daughter's life whether I liked it or not. This is the same woman who believes corporal punishment is okay. I've seen her hit my husband's nephew for the smallest things and no one does anything about it. It's like they're all living in some kind of cult, and I'm finally waking up to the reality of what's going on. If he wouldn't stand up for me, how could I expect him to stand up for our child? I started to fear for what kind of environment our daughter would grow up in, a place where she might be belittled or bullied by her own grandmother, with a father who wouldn't do anything to stop it. Oh, and did I mention that he missed our first ultrasound? His mother needed him to help her with something urgent. It turned out to be fixing her Wi-Fi. He chose that over seeing our daughter for the first time. That told me everything I needed to know about where I stand in his life. So I packed up and left. I'm done living like this. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I've already contacted a lawyer. You can't scare me into complying anymore because I have all those texts. You know exactly which ones I'm talking about. So, Stefan, I wish you all the best in your future marriage with your mother and the women of Reddit whose boobs you don't even deserve. Am I the for leaving my husband after he neglected me for years, let his mother mistreat me, and made me fear for our future daughter's safety? Honey, you slayed breakup this year. Like, you take the prize for the best approach to a breakup and a divorce I've seen this whole entire year. This is amazing. The situation is painful and I'm very sorry you're going through this, but I am very proud of you that, like, even being 5 months pregnant, you had the strength to, like, pack your go. And I think that's the best decision you could have made, because these people sound insufferable and you're very right to be worried about how things are gonna go when you actually give birth, because if that dumb ditched your ultrasound to fix his mommy's Wi-Fi, then he's gonna ditch all of the childcare because his mommy needs, like, groceries bought or carried or whatever. I don't know. That woman sounds like the most toxic type of fungus you can ever think of, and good riddance, honestly. But, like, oh, the way you went about it is beautiful. This post, for a very, very good reason, has, like, the most different awards I've ever seen on a Reddit post, has 76,000 upvotes, and the top comment here is, Stefan buddy, please reply and tell us how much a good boy you are. Mommy will be so proud. Oh, that is so funny. And there's also a tiny update. Stefan has seen this post. He's mad that apparently one of you found him based on the rate my boobs think. He has deleted his account. For any purposes, I want to clarify that I left out any actual incriminating information that could lead to doxing him. Any and all people who are pretending to know me or have any incriminating information about me are lying. I'm not from South Carolina. I'm not moving in in with any other guy, and I'm also not sleeping around. Of course, people on Reddit would find a person based on a random rate the boobs comment. Ooh, I didn't know, but there is an update-ish for this post. So, some people on Reddit have been pretending to know me and spreading false claims. They've said I'm a deadbeat who doesn't work and that Stefan has 2 jobs to support me. They even fabricated a story about a neighbor who supposedly is a good friend of ours, saying I've been sleeping around and moving in with the guys I've supposedly had affairs with. None of this is true. We don't live in South Carolina or the UK, and we are not friends with any of our neighbors. I have never cheated on Stefan, and I work and make slightly more than him, just $1 an hour difference. I suspect these claims might be from trolls or Stefan's friends trying to make me regret posting about this. I'm safe and staying with my family, which is all I'm going to say for now. I'm working with my lawyer to ensure our safety, and that's all I can disclose at this time. For women who find themselves in my situation and are dealing with a lease, consult with a pro bono lawyer who specializes in rental rights. That's what I did. They can give you advice specific to your country or region. In my case, I was able to move out because Stefan and I had both signed a lease contract and had completed the minimum rental period. After my free consultation, I worked with my landlords, who are a lovely older couple, to arrange my departure. So don't be scared. Or, I mean, you can be scared, but there are things you can do to protect yourself. Also, make sure to run a credit check on yourself. I did, and it's another issue I'm addressing. As for recent developments, there hasn't been much news. Stefan is clearly desperate. He and my mother-in-law have both had meltdowns and launched separate smear campaigns. My mother-in-law has spread false claims, including that I'm an unfit mother and that I've been abandoning my responsibilities. I don't plan to answer these claims publicly. I'm collecting all evidence I have, especially since she has nothing to back up her accusations, but I have everything to back up mine. So no, Stefan, this is not going to be a he said, she said situation. He deleted his Reddit account, claiming it was because one person found him. But then he told me a bunch of people sent him death threats, which seems impossible and contradictory. He did send his friends to my post, and I think they sent me some unsavory DMs and comments. Allegedly. When I tried to talk to Stefan, he always made me feel like I was going crazy. Whenever I raised concerns or expressed feelings, he would dismiss them, belittle my emotions, and make me second guess myself. For instance, I'd come home to find that he had invited people over without informing me in advance. When I brought it up, he'd insist that he mentioned it earlier, even though I knew he hadn't. Another time, I planned a special meal and asked him for a specific dish, but he claimed I had requested something completely different. When I reminded him of what I had actually asked for, he'd argue that I must have forgotten my own request. Stefan would also insist he had completed tasks that I had actually done myself. For example, he would claim he had handled a household chore when I was the one who actually took care of it. When I pointed this out, he'd dismiss my recollection and insist that he had done it. Even in conversations about our relationship, Stefan would frequently deny things he had said or done. If I brought up issues I had with his mother's behavior, he'd claim, "You never mentioned that before, you're just being overdramatic." This made me question whether I had ever truly discussed these problems or if I was indeed overreacting. At one point, I was so convinced that I had early onset dementia or schizophrenia that I started to question my own sanity. I felt lost and confused, struggling to distinguish between reality and his version of events. I began to document our interactions just to keep track of what was actually happening. But Stefan would always find a way to twist things, saying, "You must be misremembering," even though I had clear evidence to the contrary. Feeling so powerless, I realized that sharing my story online was the only way to present my truth in a manner he couldn't manipulate. I wanted to ensure that there was a clear and unchangeable record of of what had happened. Posting about my experiences was a crucial step in reclaiming my voice and finding support from others who might understand my situation. It was a way to take control of my narrative after feeling so lost and doubting myself for so long. Thank you all for your support during this difficult time. I am very happy you are out. You deserve so much better. The descriptions of like arguments and these things about you're overreacting and you're being childish and ridiculous, and then telling you that you actually said that or you've never told me that before, manipulating the reality, reminded me a lot about my ex. That is a terrible thing to do to a person, and it's very, very abusive. You're basically like driving a person insane, and there's no other way of dealing with people like that than to just leave them, because they deserve to just be alone in their own corner. So, savage move, and let's see the next story. For telling my husband he's too broke to be so sexist. So my husband comes from a traditional family. Mom's is a stay-at-home mother, father was a sole provider. I come from the opposite. My mother pretty much forbade me from ever being financially dependent on a man and drilled that into me early on. My husband worked hard to unlearn the values he saw replicated at home. He pulled his weight at home, was an engaged and present father and a genuine partner. The one thing that grinds my gears is how much weight he puts on the opinions of his family. I get that we all want our parents to be proud of us, but this is too much. My in-laws are staying with us for 2 weeks. Our usual MO is I prep breakfast, we all eat lunch at work/school, and my husband makes dinner. We have a cleaner, but she's on holiday, so in the meantime, we are DIYing the cleaning where it's down to everyone to keep their space clean, and common spaces we all clean. This is how we've always done it, and it works. My in-laws hate that I'm one of those modern women. They hate that I work. They hate that I don't find my purpose in being a wife and mother, and they hate that my husband pulls his weight at home. He spoke pretty frankly early on, where I established my boundaries and told them I won't be chastised about how I live my life in my home. When I am a guest in their home, I accommodate their ways and play the daughter-in-law they wish I was. They have, for the most part, respected this. I got home yesterday after work, tired and starving. I typically get home at 6:15/30 and we eat at 7. I said quick hellos and ran up for a pre-dinner shower. When I came down, I went to the kitchen to help set up for dinner and found nothing ready. I asked my husband about it, but he wouldn't look at me, and his mother answered that he hadn't cooked anything. She told me I needed to do my duty as a wife and cook for my family. My coward of a husband still wasn't looking at me. I just walked away and ordered takeaway. I dished up for me and my kids, and we sat at the table to eat. My husband and his parents served themselves and joined us. My mother-in-law was still going on about what was wrong with me and why I was a failure. I asked my husband if he had anything to say. He said his mother had a point and it wouldn't hurt if I acted more like a proper woman and took better care of my home and children. He said tradition was tradition for a reason, and it was kind of insulting that I thought I was too good for how he was raised. This is where I might be the asshole. I told him tradition won't allow a man on 35K to support a family of 5, and he was too broke to be so sexist. He looked hurt, and I saw tears welling in his eyes. He excused himself from the table. I regret saying this in front of our children, but him saying that to me after I'm busting my ass to clean up his mess on top of having to deal with his parents was too much for me. Am I the asshole? No. Look, saying that in front of the kids was obviously not ideal. They should not be part of disagreements like that. They should not be involved in any type of fights. But like, he is a huge coward. He was just sitting there watching you take shit from his mother and then even joined in because he was like too scared to stand up for you, and or because he actually agrees with his mom, he was just like keeping it on the down low. Both options are terrible, and you didn't say anything wrong though. He is too broke to be so sexist. I mean, obviously no one should be sexist, but I find it very rich when guys who cannot even support themselves well will be like, yeah, I want my woman to sit at home and make me sandwiches and rub my feet every night and not work and, you know, wake up at 5 to make herself pretty. But like, for what coin, honey? For what coin? Explain to me. Anyway, the top comment here is, sucks, the kids were there for it, but he deserved worse. Not the asshole. Should have ordered only enough food for you and the kids. That's actually what I wanted to say as well. Should have just ordered only for you and them, because them people. Let the mom cook for her man, for her grown-ass man baby and her other grown-ass man baby son. Let them have fun. Loving this. Let's see the next story. This one is just straight up unhinged. Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend that if she doesn't stop her sister, I will her? I know the title makes me seem like the asshole, I know, but please hear me out. Me and my girlfriend have been together for 3 years at this point. Don't get me wrong, I truly love her and don't want to hurt her in any way, but I can't deal with her sister's behavior. For the last year, her sister, 23 female, has been inappropriate with me on many occasions, from the comments to touching and inappropriate massages. I have tried and tried and tried to get it to stop, but it hasn't. I have talked to my girlfriend about it so many times and how uncomfortable her sister makes me, and it hasn't stopped. The comments range from how my body looks to her wanting to lick ice cream off my body, wanting to know how my body weight will feel on top of hers, the bulge in my pants, imagining how I look naked. She has touched my arms, back, and even conveniently brushed her hand across my junk by bumping into me when there was more than enough space to pass by me. She has mistakenly walked in on me taking a shower 9 times over the past 2 years, sent inappropriate pictures to me 4 times by accident, conveniently forget to answer the door when I knock and she is in the room changing. When she's over visiting my girlfriend, she doesn't wear clothes, walks around either naked or almost naked in my apartment, not hers, mine. I have seen my girlfriend's sister naked more times these past 3 weeks than I have seen her. I'm actually done with this relationship, but decided to give my girlfriend one last chance. She has helped me through a lot and I do love her, I really do, so I sat her down 2 days ago and told her all of the above again and explained to her if my brother did these things with her, he would have no teeth, but she is allowing her sister to do these things to me when I have asked for her help to stop it. I don't want to live like a prisoner in my own home, which I'm doing at this point, locking every room I'm in or being afraid to go in a room in my own apartment. She replied with, you know how my sister is, she means nothing by it. I got angry at that statement and raised my voice. I don't want her sister in our apartment, but she keeps inviting her. I don't want to go over to her parents' house, but she always guilts me into going and I'm done with it. I get birthdays and holidays because their family is very close, but I'm done with that shit. I told her if she doesn't help me to stop this bullshit from happening, I will make one of 2 choices. Either I will have her sister charged with sexual assault, or next time she makes an advance on me, I will her. She immediately asked me if I wanted to cheat on her. I said no, but she's leaving me with no choice. She has to help me put a stop to this, or I make the choice for her. I know I'm a because I also told her if she leaves the choice in my hands, I will probably choose option number 2. I wanted it to hit home as to how uncomfortable I have been and how inappropriate her sister is acting, and that I'm completely done with it. She has been crying and sulking, barely speaking to me the last 2 days. Got calls from friends telling that I'm the asshole for telling her I will her sister. She has no problem with me calling the police on the sister, but has a problem with me sleeping with her. I do understand that she has a problem with it, but I don't understand why she refuses to help me stop this crap from happening. Am I the asshole? No, that response is savage, but deserved at that point. I feel like if the person is not getting it to the point your girlfriend doesn't, then you can deploy like radical measures. Of course, this is an asshole move to say that, like, I will your sister. It's like, just break up with her, dude. She does not understand what is wrong with what her sister is doing. They clearly have a big problem with boundaries. So if you're done with the relationship, just break up. The top comment here is not the told don't have sex with a sister. She sounds like the type to poke holes in the condom. I'd have exited this relationship a long time ago. Your girlfriend is putting you in a ridiculous position. I do agree, the sister sounds insane. There are several edits slash updates. Her sister has done a lot more than what I said above. Playing with herself in our living room conveniently when I got home and my girlfriend still was at work. Mistakenly getting into bed with me. I have thrown her sister out of our apartment more than 10 times over the last year because of her behavior. I don't sleep over at her parents' house anymore. I will rather drive the 3 hours back home than sleep at theirs. The reason her sister is over so much is because of the distance between her parents' house and ours. I'm not the only person on the lease, so I can't just make the decision of who and who's not allowed. The reason I'm just not leaving and decided to give the relationship this last chance is because my girlfriend has helped me through a lot, my family cutting me off in favor of my golden brother, my own attempt at suicide nearly succeeding, and then sitting by my hospital bed for days until I got better. She's perfect in every way except this one when it comes to her sister. So just leaving without giving it one last chance isn't an option because it would feel to me like I didn't try everything I could. I mean, I suppose it's nice of you to try and give it as many chances as you have in you, but you know, enough is enough, and the sister is completely unhinged. What do you mean playing with herself in your living room and getting into bed with you? How are those people? How is your girlfriend fine with that? I would have like cut off my sister after the first incident like that. That's not normal, but I suppose that's the whole problem here, isn't it? The last thing I'll read is an update. Broke up. According to my now ex, she never believed me that it was as bad as I said it was. Broke up with her after she said she never believed me. She only believed everything I said was true when she caught her sister yesterday sneaking into our room and trying to get into the bathroom naked while I was in the shower. Well, I gotta give it to the sister. She knows what she wants and she will not stop until she gets there. Okay, leaving on that, I hope you liked these stories. Please let me know what you thought. I will be going now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, though I doubt it, I will see you with another video probably at some point in the future. Bye.